Alright. I'm gonna try my best to speak properly. Fuck. Okay. So I'm doing another hey guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums. I'm gonna I'm gonna be doing another mini albums review video. And the reason why I'm like this right now, last Friday, which is like a week ago, I bit my tongue and it still hurts. Yeah, and you know, initially I wanted to postpone this video, but I haven't been on YouTube for such a long time, and I need to somehow make this happen, or else I'm like a loser. And B, this tongue pain is probably gonna get worse tomorrow, so better do it now than later, when it's worse. Anyway, I've been wanting to do this review of Malibu Ken, self-titled, since January. The end of January. Fuck. I don't know why it's hurting so much. Okay, anyway. Oh my gosh. My mouth is in a lot of pain right now. I have an ulcer here and my tongue is in pain. Anyway. Malibu Ken is a duo formed with Tobacco, a producer, and Aesop Rock, an amazing and creative rapper. And together they formed this duo called Malibu Ken, and it's this experimental synth rap project. And it's really abstract, really weird. The lyrics on this album, they are just really absurd and abstract and creative. The album starts off with Corn Maze, which is a solid opening, one of my favorite tracks here. I really love the skippy beats, they're kind of rough. Oh my gosh. Man. It's got to be entertaining to see me suffer. I have to do it, because I can't do it tomorrow. It's going to be worse tomorrow. Anyway, I really love the skippy beats, the warpy synths. They are awesome. They're very tasteful. And of course, oh man, Aesop Rock is a great rapper, great lyrical rapper. His flow is excellent, and the lyrics are gross, but they're just really creative. And same goes for the second track, Tuesday, which has these very rough, chunky synths. And you know, he kind of talks about having a mushroom growing inside of his car, and that's hilarious. A lot of hilarious lines here and there on this album. And then on the third track, we have Save Our Ship, which is not one of the highlights of the album. Not really one of the best tracks here. Oh fuck, pretty average. The beat just feels kind of scuzzy, kind of aimless, kind of weak. And the vocoder vocals feel kind of mushy, even though you know, that's Tobacco's fault. I still think Aesop Rock totally kills his verses, and man, it hurts. And then on the fourth track, it's Swordbox, and it grows on me. Okay, at first I wasn't a huge fan of it, but later on, I liked it more and more and more. And same goes for a lot of the other tracks on this album as well. Anyway, I think I really like the synths here. They kind of remind me of church organs. They're pretty epic, and we also get these warm shots of chords, and they're pretty cool. And the lyrics, they're also really weird. They talk about, you know, magic tricks. For this magic trick, I'm gonna make this money climb up your wallet or something. Yeah, it's pretty weird. And then immediately after that, we have Dog Years, which is similar to Save Our Ship. It's kind of lo-fi, kind of low-key. The beat is just kind of same. Kind of aimless, and I'm not really that impressed. But my favorite track on the entire album has to be Acid King, a single released in the back end of 2018, and the track talks about the Ricky Casso, the murderer, and the lyrics, they are incredible. They talk about his life, this murderer's life in very great detail. The synths here, they are actually kind of menacing and also really sticky, and I kind of like how bubbly it gets after the second verse, and I love it. It's solid. It's such a solid track. And then we have Suicide Big Gulp, which has a harder beat and a more consistent beat, but still we get these very fuzzy blob of vocals, vocoder vocals, and I'm not a huge fan of that. But other than that, I still like the buzzy synths, and the lyrics, they're kind of like weird flex, but okay, you know. And then we have 1 + 1 = 13. Really, really weird track title, and it sort of has this airy, spacey, moody, sort of flat out instrumental, but it's actually pretty nice, actually. And A$AP Rock on this track talks about superstitions, and you know, he talks about how crazy it gets, and I really enjoy it. The second last track is the grossest track of it all. It's titled Churro, and it talks about bald eagles in Pennsylvania, and how they feed on dead cats. So if you're a cat lover, you'll hate this track. I'm warning you, man. But yeah, the beat is hard. The lyrics, they are very descriptive, and it's really like whoa, like a whoa track, a whoa factor. However, the ending of the album is not a whoa factor track thing at all. It's titled Purple Moss, and it's this really mild and weak and mundane ending to the album. It tries to be this moody, sad goodbye, but it just fails. It just comes off flat. But still, I love a majority of this album. I think the lyrics are really awesome. A$AP Rock is underrated as fuck, and I just wish Tobacco's production is a bit more polished, and I'm giving this album an 8 out of 10. Up next, because I am desperately looking for good albums, I stumbled upon this album, the Twilight side. It won't be like this all the time. So yeah, they are from Glasgow, a synth post-punk band, and I came across this album like on friggin' Rate Your Music. Okay, anyway, yes, I have to check it out. It's post-punk, it's from Scotland, and I have to check it out. And the album starts off with square bracket 10 good reasons for modern drugs. And I am actually surprised at how awesome this track is, how awesome of an album opener it is. It's not like great, legendary, or anything, but I still enjoy it, like, surprisingly. I don't hate it. It's not that bland of a song. The vocals are actually really solid. The synths, they are actually really moody and painful. I really like the crispy drums, and the chords, they are really charismatic, and I also really like the blinking keyboards in the beginning. The second track, Shooting Dennis Hopper Shooting, is also a pretty amazing track. It has a really nice late 80s, early 90s synth pop vibe to it, and it's really, it actually feels kind of sad. Whoa, what's that? I thought that was a bug, cockroach, whatever. Anyway, this track is actually really good. It feels a little sadder, a little darker, a little more claustrophobic and moodier, and the singer sort of croons on top in a very slow and rational way. Why did you do that? And then up next we have The Arbor. And man, it's another solid track. Not great, but definitely good, at least. the vocals here, they are actually very lonely, and the bass guitars, they are surprisingly dark. And I also really like the swingy guitars and synths, and the production is pretty average actually, but I still enjoy the musicality of the track. Same goes for the next track, VTR, which I'm not a huge fan of at first, but it grew on me a lot, and I think it's a pretty nice song. The next song, Sunday, Day 13, is easily the weakest track here. It doesn't really have a beat. It's very hollow, it's really weak, and it's really mundane, and I don't care for it. Up next is I'm Not Here, and it's not really that great of a track. It's one of the singles off of the album, and the layered vocals here are just not really that great of a touch, and sometimes the instrumentals get too loud and they take over the vocals, and I guess they should tweak their production a little bit. But still, musicality-wise, it's still not bad. And the same goes for Auge Machine, and Keep It All to Myself, and Girl Chewing Gum. The track Auge/Machine sounds a little forced, a little clunky, but it's still a pretty good track. And same goes for the next two tracks. They are both decent synth post-punk pop infused rock tracks, in my opinion. The second last track is titled Let's Get Lost, and it's actually a pretty nice and noisy track with a very crazy climax. And the ending of the album is actually surprisingly good, surprisingly solid. We get these very steady bleeps of synths, and it's titled Videograms, and it's actually a nice, catchy synth punk track, and I enjoy it. And overall, I think the vocals, they are not really that great, but it's still, I mean, okay, I guess. I just wish that they would give the vocals a little swag. The instrumentals are amazing here. Musicality-wise, it's pretty cool. I guess one problem would be versatility, and I feel like, I don't know, it sounds like this band is constantly stuck in the early 90s and the late 80s on this album. And the lyrics here, a little cheesy, a little basic, a little average at times. But other than that, I really like how all the apostrophes here are slashes. Really nice touch. And my favorite track here is the album opener, 10 Good Reasons for Modern Drugs, and my least favorite is Sunday, Day 13. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. Also, I forgot to mention my favorite track off of Malibu Ken is Acid King, and my least favorite is Purple Moss. Let's get into the next two albums. The last two albums, let's start off with Maggie Rogers' latest album, Heard It in a Past Life. Heard It in a Past Life. Ouch. Maggie Rogers of that one Pharrell Williams YouTube video fame blew up. All of a sudden blew up after a couple of singles, SNL performances, blew up. And the music industry is really, really intrigued by Maggie Rogers. But I'm just gonna sum up this entire album in one word: boring. This album is easily one of the most boring pop albums I've heard in a very, very long time. And yeah, I mean, no offense to Maggie Rogers, I respect her, but it's just my opinion. The album opener, Give It a Little, is just the worst way to open a lo-fi pop album, especially when it's a debut album. The glitchy intro is just super obnoxious, and the lead melodies, oh gosh, really? Are they really putting this into the album? Really? However, there are good tracks here, like Overnight. I think it's pretty good. The melodies here, they're kind of basic, but it's still pretty good. The chorus is pretty sentimental and pretty romantic and moonlit, and I enjoy it. The Knife is my favorite here. The Knife is my favorite. It's really catchy. I really love the plucky bass, the nocturnal synths, and it just gives off such a nice, playful, summery vibe. Also, I like the track Say It. It's very warm and welcoming 90s R&B track with some really nice bubbly arpeggios and a really nice constant beat as well. And the track Retrograde is a danceable cut here with a stronger beat, and it sounds passionate. But other than that, the rest of the album is straight up disappointing. And yeah, the track Alaska is the song that made Pharrell Williams cry. And to be honest, maybe it sounds good at first, but it just goes stale. It goes stale. The beat here is very low-key and very faint, and the vocals, while they're not the worst vocals in the world, they're not like the most unique vocals either. And then the track Light On is overly sentimental. It sounds like the vocal sounds like a Bruce Springsteen, but it's grade B ripoff, and the beat, it's like any annoying EDM beat, but slower and more boring. And the track Past Life is this very boring and uneventful piano ballad, and it sounds like she's doing a very bad Regina Spektor impression, like she's trying to do this indie folk pop lo-fi thing. Yeah, the track On plus Off also sucks, turns me off. Yeah. The bass is a bit heavier. We get these very annoying skippy pianos. The production here is extremely awkward, and the vocals are extremely drab. The track Fallingwater is almost equally as bad, with the very generic chunks of pianos, and this very stomach-churning Macklemore type beat. And the track Burning has this very distorted bass, and the instrumentals here, they are just a mess. They're horrendous. They're trying to risk a bit, but it just doesn't pay off at all. It falls flat. And the melodies here, they are faint, and this track feels very hollow and very weak. And the album ending, Back in My Body, yeah, it tries to be this, epic ending, like this, like, wow, what a conclusion to the album. But, no, it sounds completely flat, very forgettable, and the production still lacks. Again, it's not that bad for a mainstream pop album, but still, I just find this album effortless, kinda drab, and definitely generic and average and extremely boring. And my favorite track here is The Knife, and my least favorite is probably Fallingwater. I'm giving it a 3 to a 4 out of 10. I'm going to be generous, a 4. And then up next, I'm going to be talking about the comeback album from Avril Lavigne, Head Above Water. That's going to be the thumbnail. Yes. Avril Lavigne finally comes back after 6 years of silence. And back then, when I was around 10 years old or 11 years old, I used to enjoy her music, like the track Here's to Never growing up. I used to listen to that song a lot when I was 10 or 11. I used to enjoy a lot of pop music when I was in that age, like Maroon 5, and I have to shamefully admit, I did enjoy a couple of One Direction and Taylor Swift songs. Well, actually, just one One Direction song, right? And I also listened to a lot of Katy Perry and Rihanna back then. Just, pop music back then. And then fast forward 6 years later, I'm 16, and Avril Lavigne sounds like she hadn't aged at all. In a bad way, because this album sounds incredibly outdated. It sounds incredibly outdated to a point it's kinda disappointing, kinda underwhelming, and maybe a little cheesy. Yeah, the title track is Head Above Water, where she shouts and screams, "God keeps my head above water and not let me drown." And it's actually a pretty good line here, but it's just completely ruined by this overly dramatic instrumentals. These crazy dramatic pianos and loud strings and bombastic drums and these epic, loud, shouty vocals with very high pitch. I mean, her vocals is pretty damn amazing. I have to admit that. But other than that, oh my gosh. Maybe this song could have been pretty good if it is released in like 2014 or something. But the music industry had changed. And now this track just sounds kind of cheesy. And even if it's released back then, I'm probably not gonna like it because, yeah, it does sound like a gospel track, and that's not necessarily bad, but still. Anyway, the second track, Birdie, is actually a way better track. The pianos are actually nicer, and the song is actually catchier, and the chord progressions and the melodies sound a little more original. But still, the production, it sounds like it came out of the late 2000s, early 2010s, the angsty, teenage, pop rock movement that was so forgettable and not influential. Anyway, the third track is I Fell in Love with the Devil, which is almost completely contradictory to the title track, where Avril Lavigne praises God for keeping her head above the water and not let her drown, and now she just fell in love with the devil. Yes. And once again, we get these very epic strings and pianos. I fell in love with the devil, and I feel like I'm in trouble. And the lyrics, they sound so outdated. They sound like they come off of a very generic Disney Channel level, like a college, high school pop rock band. And then we have Tell Me It's Over, and it's another great track here. In fact, it's my favorite. It sounds a little more festive, and I love the 3/4 beat. The swingy strings and guitars are pretty awesome, and it's a solid, very, very solid R&B tune. But then again, up next, we have this track that just totally ruins the mood. It's titled Dumb Blonde, and it features Nicki Minaj. And at first, it sounds like it's going to be a banger, and maybe I'm going to enjoy it a little bit. But no, it just turns out to be kind of trashy. It sounds absolutely dumb. I ain't no dumb blonde. I ain't no Barbie doll. The production is tacky. The lyrics are hedonistic. And again, it sounds like it came out of the early 2010s. And then we have It Was In Me, and it's another okay track. It's a pretty epic ballad, but not like overly dramatic or anything. It's tolerable, but still we get these very same old school, college guitars. I don't know why I'm describing it as college. More like high school. Then we have the track Souvenir and the track Crush, and both sound pretty similar. They're both love songs, really generic love songs. Like, could you come up with a more interesting topic other than love songs? Yeah, they're both very plain, very boring, very forgettable, and they sound like B-sides from a very generic pop rock album from the late 2000s. And the song Crush is a little slower, but still. And both of these tracks, and actually all of the tracks on this album, like almost all, they also give off this Disney Channel teenage sitcom pop rock band vibe. I know I'm saying Disney a lot, but seriously, folks. When I first heard the track Goddess, I legit thought, maybe I'm gonna enjoy it, but no, it's not really that good either. It's a lo-fi ballad, but, saying how people treat her as a goddess, and, the lyrical topic of this track is actually pretty, pretty meaningful, talking about the bad side of fame, but geez, the song feels so weak, the song feels so, outdated, it feels so drab, and the lyrics here, they love to see me in my pajamas, and they love me crazy like bananas. And then we have Bigger Wow, which is even worse. Like, a bulk of the track is basically na 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 na, and jeez, oh my gosh, the music industry had changed, okay? And the lyrics here don't even get me started. And then the second last track is Love Me Insane, and once again it has a very unoriginal and cheesy sounding chord progression. We get these pinches of strings and pianos, which are actually okay, they're tolerable, but they're backed with these very annoying hand claps. And the album ends off with Warrior, which tries to be this epic ending to the album. This very beautiful, empowerment track. Like, at the end, I became stronger, and now I overcame my fears, and I'm gonna face life in full force. Yes! Stay positive. Yeah. I just really, really, really want to like this album, but I just can't. I just can't. It just sounds incredibly outdated. I feel like what Avril Lavigne really needs to do now is to listen to the new pop sound and just realize how outdated this sounds. The poppy, the Grimes, the Sophie, these crazy warped electronic beats, these very edgy lyrics and sound effects, and these very stripped back and skeletal, verses and choruses. And this sounds incredibly, and yeah, I'm not into this album at all. My favorite track here is Tell Me It's Over. My least favorite here is Bigger Wow, or maybe the track Dumb Blonde, or maybe the title track, or maybe the last track. But yeah, I kind of want to give it a 3 out of 10. But I feel like that's a little harsh, so kind of in between a 3 and a 4. My level of enjoyment for this album is a 3, but I think quality-wise and production-wise, it's actually not that bad. Objectively speaking, it's probably a 3.9. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it off at that. I'm sorry. I respect Avril Lavigne. I think she's a cool person. Okay, leave me alone. Haters gonna hate me. Whatever. Yeah. What are your thoughts on these albums? Like if you like it, hate if you hate it, and subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching.